Let's get more on those by-election results. And joining us in the party, Green Party member Paul Powsland and Reform Councillor Jaymey McIvor. Good to see you both this morning. Congratulations, Paul, to you and yours on this one. What do you think pulled it for you?
Well, I think it's quite clear that people are sick of the Labour Party and they want a genuine left-wing alternative. And previously that didn't exist, and now the Greens are offering it to them, and it's clear that it's very popular and people want that.
But what I don't understand with all of this, I mean, in a speech, we've played it a few times, Hannah Spencer says, you know, working hard in this country used to mean you could put food on the table, you could go on a holiday, you know, cost of living is clearly something she's putting down there. But when you look at Green Party economic policies, it looks like it's going to make the country leave it in a much worse position.
Which specifically, which policy are you saying is going to do that?
Well, you look at it like me. You look at the open borders policy for an example, and the idea that people can just stay here and be given houses and accommodated, and how is that, and wealth taxes on top of that, which would drive people out of the country. How is that not going to damage the economy and make the cost of living worse?
Well, firstly, we don't have an open borders policy. We have a humane managed borders policy, so it's not a free-for-all, firstly. But also, what evidence do you have to say that immigration will reduce economic output?
Well, it generally does.
Which evidence says that? Actually, immigration tends to increase GDP.
Common sense, probably.
Common sense, but that's not the same as evidence.
When you have lots of people enter a country without controlled borders, which we currently do, but I think under a Green government it would be far worse. You know, where does the extra school capacity come from? Where do the extra hospitals come from? They come from the reliance on the state being able to build them. But how can the state build them if all of the wealth leaves the country and leaves the exchequer without any income? So straight away you have a poorer nation. But what's even worse about uncontrolled immigration is you leave a country cultureless, and we are seeing the erosion of Britain as a sovereign culture. We are seeing the erosion of our values, and you actually travel to parts of the constituency where the Greens have just won, and congratulations, we are in a democracy, and congratulations on the election. But what was very clear to me was there were some places that you weren't welcome to go when you were there, and I think that's a very sad stain on what happens when you have uncontrolled, unmanaged and unintegrated immigration, which a Green government would deliver tenfold.
Hello, I'm Bev Turner. Now, it can feel like the money in our bank accounts at the moment does not keep up with the cost of living, and maybe there's a solution. I'm here today with the CEO of TallyMoney, Cameron Parry. Cameron, what is TallyMoney?
Well, Bev, with TallyMoney, you get a current account and a debit card, but instead of pounds, you use milligrams of gold as your everyday money.
So why gold?
Gold traditionally is a great store of value. It has, on average, gone up at over 11% per annum for the last 25 years against the pound. It's tripled in value in the last decade. And in the last 2 years alone, it's increased by 50% against the pound. Banks' savings products just can't compete with that level of growth.
But this isn't just about gold. This is about a currency that you guys have created at TallyMoney. Explain it to me as though I'm an idiot.
So, look, people need to be able to hold their earnings and build their savings in a money that retains its value and remains in their legal control and remains theirs to access, away from government control.
Great. You had me at not exposed to government control.
You should feel safe and happy with your money. You should have peace of mind the more money you see in your bank balance, and that's the type of thing we're trying to deliver and give people choice in the type of money they get to use every day.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Cameron. Thank you.
It's not uncontrolled immigration. That's not our policy, firstly. Secondly, you talked about the economics, then moved to...
The leader of your party doesn't advocate for borders.
Sorry?
The leader of your party doesn't advocate
Green
for
Party
borders.
policy is not for unmanaged immigration and no borders. It's a humane managed system.
What does that mean?
And also safe and legal routes. So instead of having people coming over on boats illegally, they'd be given actual ways to apply from their country for asylum, which we are under international obligation to give. But you were talking about the economics earlier, and you said it was common sense. And I noticed this with reform quite a lot. When you don't have any evidence, you just go, oh, it's common sense, mate. But you never actually provide the evidence. Actually, you asked about schools and hospitals. Of course, people who come here usually work, and therefore they will pay taxes, and therefore they will be able to build those schools and hospitals. And actually we would give asylum seekers the right to work so that they can actually contribute to the country. Immigration tends to raise GDP. As to the no-go areas, I'm sorry, I don't buy that. I live in a very diverse constituency in Barking, a big divide opening up between Reform and the Greens as Labour collapses there. It's the traditional party. And when I was standing as a candidate, I met all different kinds of people. There are I don't think, no-go areas in this country. And again, I think you should substantiate such a serious allegation.
I can substantiate it, for example, if you go to somewhere like Whitechapel, where there was recently footage of the community that live in Whitechapel shouting that English people weren't welcome. That's a doorstep example for me as an Essex boy. That's an example that comes to mind straight away. But the point you've made there about immigration and borders, I think we should be very clear here. The leader of your party has advocated having no borders. He's also advocated for no nuclear deterrent, also advocating that a woman can have a penis. We are living in a world whereby we do have, I think, quite extreme policies from the Green Party, and they are not common sense. Let's face it. We do know that we need a nuclear deterrent.
Hold on. Let's move this on to a slightly wider perspective, if you like, because the argument has got to be, and though you've done extremely well, and it's been a historic vote for the Green Party in Gorton and Denton. The question now is, how and can you extend that across the country ahead of a general election?
Well, just to respond to the common sense point, again, you've ticked off all of the greatest hits of reform against the Greens, the trans rights and immigration, all the usual. And you say it's not common sense, but ultimately the electors of Gorton and Denton would disagree with you. And indeed, the electors in many other seats across the country where it's now a reform versus Green fight as Labour collapses, as it is in Barking. I think this puts us on an amazing springboard to become the main opposition party on the left as Labour collapses. And I think that is what is going to happen, because Labour's usual argument is don't vote the Greens, even if you agree with their policies, as many people do. They might think it's common sense too. And because they will split the vote. That argument is now entirely evaporated. And arguably, as we've seen in Gorton and Denton, voting Labour will now split the left-wing vote.
Which is the irony of that is, of course, that, I mean, you're both in the same boat, as it were, excuse the pun, on this, because he's giving the same arguments that Nigel Farage was giving about the Tories just a few months ago.
Well, and also, we can agree on something, which is that the Labour Party is done. They are finished. The anger on the doorstep. You know, as someone that once campaigned in the Conservative Party at their ultimate low, I can't imagine what it was like for Labour canvassers yesterday in Gorton and Denton. The Labour Party's totally finished. They've betrayed people, and the Conservative Party's also finished. The interesting thing about why I think reform will have an edge over the Green Party in most constituencies is because I think there is about 50 constituencies where the Green Party could potentially copy and paste last night's success. And a lot of that relies actually on a sectarian vote. And we've seen that with the campaign that took place, with campaign videos in foreign languages. We've seen it with foreign language literature. We've also seen it with actually the speech. I was quite amazed that a newly elected Member of Parliament only chose to mention one religion. I don't understand why you would do that. That to me isn't inclusive of everyone for a party that says everybody is to be inclusive and believes in that. Actually, to only mention one religion when you have a constituency that has lots of religions within it. So what we're seeing is that sectarian vote. So you can work out constituencies where that would work in London and some of our inner cities, but reform represents everybody. We don't believe in division. We believe in everyone.
All right. Well, on that party political broadcast, we need to leave it there for now. But I know we are talking to you both a lot this morning. For now, thank you.
Thank you very much. Do stay with us still to come.